Greetings, I'm Dr. Max Gomez at the 5th International Vatican Conference, and I'm joined this morning by Jonathan Bush Jr., who is going to talk to us a little bit about primary care and how this is going to evolve, I think, towards the future. But Jonathan, if we can, let's start first with a lot of scientific conferences that we all attend tend to be relatively one-dimensional. They're focused on a particular disease or an organ or one issue. What do you think is different about this Vatican conference that makes it both unique and worthwhile?
Well, I think the idea of the demand curve doesn't make it into a lot of medical conferences. In fact, I was on the board at Harvard Medical School, and they actually had a medical ethics department that taught that doctors who paid attention to how much things cost that was unethical, and you should treat them without consequence for cost, and then let society figure it out. And at a sentimental level, I understand that to be quite lovely, but as the variability in how things can get done and what their costs are, and as billions of people around the world can't have access to what we know how to do, understanding how to make that demand curve that is distributed, cell phones into the hands of billions, cars, machines, all kinds of things, by making them more and more efficient over time, that is now a mandate, probably the primary mandate, both clinically and financially, of medicine. I think the Vatican's interest in spreading that kind of hopeful access to what's going on in the world far and wide is a great focus, and really every conference should start having an edge of that.
Well said, well said. So let's talk about primary care, because that, I think, has become now a new focus here. What's the next generation of primary care going to look like, and is it going to end up focusing more on prevention as opposed to treatment after something gets broken?
Yeah, I think primary care probably has always talked about prevention, but the atomic unit of all medicine, especially in the US, has been this medical claim, and so primary care doctors have had to sort of jostle with payers. What can we do? How much money can we sort of wrap around a visit to the primary care doctor? And as such, it's gotten very sort of procedure, diagnostic testing, screening oriented, but still procedure oriented, and it makes it harder to access. What we really need is something that's continuously accessible, which defies the notion of the claim being the atomic unit. And so what's happening with primary care is it's being relabeled, recaptured as something that is kind of instant on, sort of an edge computing around the edge of the healthcare system. Doesn't necessarily need to be a doctor most of the time, as long as a doctor's supervising. If you're still working on managing what you eat or trying to stop that last drink from going in, somebody who knows you well and is on a plan that a doctor has blessed, but can be there relating to you 18, 20 hours a day, maybe even better than a doctor, so that doctor can focus on more intense choices and keep their high-end clinical skills sharp. So we're really redefining this from a guild-like thing around a claim-like payment to an integrated tech and multi-level skill team around a continuous need.
And a lot of what has been discussed now as a big portion of health disparities is access to health care. How do we fix that, and does the so-called digital revolution in medicine impact that?
Absolutely. The company I'm here representing, Firefly, where I'm chairman of the board, is a great example. These are Harvard Medical School primary care doctors who worked at a major academic medical center and worked very hard there, but could never get the cost of seeing a doctor down below at least the fraction of the building they used for the fraction of the time they used, right? And it's just so much. I think the cost when I did activity-based costing at that medical center was about $70 to walk in the building, just your share of all the people who walk in the building. Whereas now, with an 8-person team, only one of whom is a doctor, they're accomplishing 41 primary care visits a year per person for less than they were doing one per every 19 months in the old model. So that's a huge change in what's possible in the kind of care that you can distribute. And of course, you can be anywhere that you have a phone.
And digitally, then you're not, you don't have that big nut, so to speak, that you have to cover for
exactly
bricks and mortars and air conditioning and heat and everything else.
Right. Right. You get in a taxi, there's a $2.50 start on the meter, right? You get in a doctor's office, there's about a $180 start on the meter. If you touch a care team that's led by a doctor over the app, your start is a couple of bucks.
Absolutely. Well, let's hope that it really makes a difference. Jonathan Bush, thank you for your time today. Keep at it. We need your help.
Amen to that, Dr. Gomez. Thanks for having me.
You bet.